Okay, now we're going to go through creating a purchase order to track services. So why would we want to do this? So basically, when we use a PO to track services, it's because we want to make sure, so there's a couple scenarios here. So one is, let's say we're a contractor and we subcontract out part of our home build that we do, right? We don't do any of the plumbing work. So we get a bid from our plumber, and let's say we're going to do it on job one here, and we have an item, I'll just say custom work, okay? So they give us a bid and they expect it to be 50 hours of work. They expect to charge us $18 an hour, and then we can have some kind of markup in here, right? 50% markup, so that we can, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? So we can have that markup in there, and this is on the estimate. So basically they're giving us what our expected cost is, right, for this particular job. Now, if we go in and create a purchase order from this, okay, and we say, okay, our vendor, Cecil's Lockworks, is going to do this custom work for this particular job. All right, so by having it in here of quantity of 50 times $18 an hour, it allows us to keep track of budget by job, basically, right, without having to run reports even. Because now we go in and we enter a bill. We say, oh, we got a bill from Cecil's Lockworks, and it says, hey, you have an existing transaction for this vendor. Do you want to apply it to that transaction? There's my PO, right, and it even makes a mention of my estimate in there, and I can say, oh, you know what, they billed me for 15 hours on this particular job. Okay. Then a couple days later, I come in, I have another bill from Cecil Lockworks and says, oh, you have an open PO for this, and I pull it up. And notice now it only says quantity 35 hours. That's because they already billed me 15. So I'm going to say 25 hours they billed me for this time. Still okay. Save and new. And then we go a couple weeks later and I get a bill from Cecil Lockworks and they bill me for another 25 hours. And I say, okay, yep, still for estimate 71015. And then that's my trigger, right? Why are they billing me for 25 hours? I only have 10 hours left on the PO. I can go to the PO, see how much they billed me for. They billed me for 40. So again, it's my way of keeping track of my budget for these services. All right. I'm going to throw a different scenario out there at you now. So we also have customers, let's say, who, I don't know, they have a contract with their IT company, and their IT company is allowed to charge them, you know, $100,000 for the year, and you know, they bill them randomly throughout the year, right? So they bill them a flat fee, $2,000 a month, and then there's some intermediate, like other billings that happen for one-off visits on site or something like that. Okay. So what happens there when you have this kind of blanketed PO, right? It's $100,000 for the year. What happens is you come in. So again, let's say electronics and computer store. So we have a item in here. Again, we're choosing a service item. And instead of putting in a quantity of 1 times 100,000, right? Because as you noticed in our last area there, what triggers on the bill, right, is the quantity. It's not the amount that triggers. It's the quantity that QuickBooks keeps track of. So what we do then is we put in a quantity of 100,000. And we put the amount as $1. Okay. And I know that that seems very confusing, but this is just the way to make it happen. So quantity, what our net result is, right, is still $100,000. That's still our open PO with this particular vendor. So then when we come in, so I'm going to say save. We come in and we enter our bill. And it's for electronics and computer. It says, hey, you have open POs for this vendor. I say, okay, against that PO. And I'm going to say quantity 2,500. Save and new. Then I get another one a couple months later, or a couple weeks later. Still has an open PO. Okay. Now it has 97.5. I say, okay, this time it was 58.46. Save and new, right? Basically, all it's doing is it's applying this against, right now we have 25, 8, 45 for whatever reason, save and close. It's applying it against that open PO and maintaining my balance. So I can always go look at that PO and see, okay, we have a $100,000 contract with this particular store. So far, we've billed out $34,191, or they've billed us $34,191 of that. Okay, so by flipping it over to quantity, again, it helps us maintain and keep track inside of QuickBooks, right? So that people, our service providers, don't go over budget, basically. All right, so that's how or why to use purchase orders to track services.